remembering our goodness, as Bill pointed out, I think is one of the key roads, one of the key pathways, one of the key mantric states or feeling states which will guide us to a place of healing, of rebalancing, of deeper illumination. And of course the question becomes how? How can we do that? How can we precipitate positive, constructive states of awareness in our daily life? Our daily lives being what they are, sometimes rather busy, rather chaotic at times. And I think the answer, part of the answer at least, lies in establishing a rhythm to our life, in feeling the pulsation and the rhythmic flow, the ebb and the flow of the life force with each breath, certainly with each rising, with each going to sleep, and so forth. I hate to raise a sore subject on a day like this, but I understand it's going to get pretty cold by the end of the day, and maybe a little snowy. And fortunately, we're past the time when they would kill the messenger who brought bad news, so I can tell you that without fear. And what it reminds me of is those happy little snowstorms that come up in December and January around here, I understand. And we've all had the experience of having our cars stuck in the snow. And unless you're one of those people with real good karma that doesn't drive, you know that the one thing that you can't do is just put your foot on the gas. Because of what's going to happen, of course, the wheels are just going to spin, and you just dig in deeper, or you won't get anywhere at all. What you have to do, about the only way to do it, at least that I've found, is two things. One, hopefully you can get a friend or somebody pushing on the back. That helps a lot. And there's got to be somebody steering. And then what do? You rock it. A little bit of energy, you back off. A little bit of energy, you back off. A little bit of energy, and you back off. Now, if we're talking about healing our physical bodies, our anamaya koshas, as we call them so affectionately in yoga, our temporal food sheaths, if our lifestyles have been sort of unwise for 10 years, maybe we won't solve it overnight. Maybe it's going to take a little while. But the important point is, when we establish the rocking movement, that we are going in the right direction. We are going towards a movement of constructiveness rather than destructiveness, of health rather than disease, and so forth. If we're, not as an alternative, but as a deeper level in a simultaneous movement, moving towards truly the healing and the rebalancing of our spirit itself, of our self-awareness. Remember, that's a movement from unawareness to self-awareness to balanced self-conscious awareness. If that's the process, the yogis say, no problem. That only takes about 10 million years. This is Earth years, independent of the time you spend in between lifetimes, independent of the time you spend when you're real, real sick. It's only about 10 million healthy Earth years. Gee, no sweat. It's a long process. But, as Shelley points out, who's to say that this is the first lifetime that you've begun it? Who's to say perhaps that this is not the lifetime when the capstone will be placed on all your efforts in all your previous lifetimes? So whether the issue is healing the body, the mind, the soul, or the spirit, without question, we have accumulated sat karma, we have accumulated merit from noble deeds of the past. And we can draw upon these. We can magnetize our mind to these. As Bill pointed out, thoughts come in legions. Never alone. They travel in groups. So to attune to the noble, to attune to the good, is to bring legions of thoughts, legions of angels to our aid, to reinitiate the process of healing or rebalancing on whatever level. Are there some general guidelines that are helpful in this process? Yes. If I was a Zen teacher, I would have said no and gotten down. Isha Upanishad, one of the key yogic texts, and it's a nice short one, but very pithy, gives us some guidelines. All that exists, animate or inanimate, is of God. Claim nothing. Cling to no thing, that it clings not to you. Find the Lord that dwells in the heart of each thing. Desire not objects, covet not the forms. Know the form is not the reality of that object. This is one of those paragraphs that we can meditate on for the next 100 lifetimes and undoubtedly find deeper levels and nuances and subtleties to it. Somebody comes up, a state of consciousness approaches you. Hi, state of consciousness, how are you? What do you see? What do you relate to in the person? According to yoga, don't forget, we are spirit, unborn, undying, immortal, eternal into the past and into the future. And I think we've all had those sublime moments when we're with another person, a lover, a friend, a teacher. If we're real lucky, perhaps, and real blessed, perhaps like Bill and his father in the final portion of his father's life, where there's a moment where we set aside our awareness of the sheaths, of the externalities, of the clothing that the person wears, and we are able to relate spirit to spirit, literally face to face. How refreshing it is, how ennobling it is, how truly quieting it is. The more we can strive to do this consciously, the more we are speeding up the process. Because after all, life itself, according to yoga, is an evolutionary movement, is a movement of spiritual advancement. All we're doing here, all anyone is doing who is seeking the truth in whatever clothing they may seek that particular truth, is adding our conscious volition to an already natural process that is in action. A friend of mine came in to see Sri Shailaji Kriyananda's guru when he was here this summer, and he has a kind of a funny way of putting things. And he called me up the next day and he says, "Dave, not in an ego way, but what does it mean for me that I came to see Shelley talk?" I thought it was kind of cute. And I says, well, it means that you're on the path of enlightenment, whether it's unconscious, semi-conscious, or conscious. And truly all sentient life forms, according to yoga, are on that path to enlightenment. And what we're doing, when we reach a point where we consciously seek that healing, that balance, that spiritual enlightenment, when the spirit openly seeks itself, then the process is accelerated. And the movement of attaining an ease, a healing, a balance, a contentment on whatever level of life becomes that much easier. Is there an enemy? Yes. One of the enemies, of course, are judgmentalness. A disciple of mine was telling me the other day with wailing and gnashing of teeth that she hadn't meditated in about a week. And she's having a hard time in her personal life and so forth. And now, mystically and spiritually, it's a good thing to meditate. But as the Zen monk says, what's the answer to life? Well, watch the little child attempting to walk. See how he or she falls down again and again, gets up, and ultimately walks one more time than they fell. This is our challenge in this earth plane. So she hasn't meditated for a week. It's not so good, but what's the answer? The answer is we must use the very ground that we fall upon in order to lift ourselves up. The answer is, okay, I'll start today. Right? And just get rid of that whole mess, that whole garbage of I should have, and oh, if only I had it to do again, and all that kind of stuff. You'll have it to do again, probably many times in future lifetimes. You don't have to, plead your case before life at this particular time. The point is to work with today, to work with this moment. As the Sanskrit sage says, yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision, but today well lived makes every yesterday a dream of happiness and every tomorrow a vision of victory. It's returning again and again to this moment, to this breath, to this particular thought state. The movement, more than anything else, is a movement of breaking the cycle of samsara. Those of you happy Buddhists in the audience have heard that term many times, as well as many of us who've been studying yoga. Samsara, the wheel of death and rebirth. And people think, oh gee, that means that I should escape this place. That means that I don't want to ever come back and incarnate again. And it really doesn't mean that so much. It's true, according to the mystical doctrine, that we do take on bodies again and again. We, the Atma, we, the Spirit, take them on and put them off like shirts. And in this central bliss, in this central focus of self-conscious awareness that is the real you, it's about as traumatic as taking off and putting it, ooh, this one's kind of stinky. I'll put on a nice pink one today. Not too tough. It's when we live on the surface of our minds that what should be a normal and a healthy and a natural part of life becomes rather difficult. Not only that, we forget that there's washing machines where we can wash it and get it nice and clean. It's called fasting, it's called deep prayer, it's called asana, hatha yoga, mantra, meditation, and so forth. These are our spiritual washing machines. It's the best I can do. So the breaking the wheel of samsara, breaking the cycle of death and rebirth, doesn't so much have to do with body to body as thought to thought. The woman who hadn't meditated in a week, that set up a whole series of patterns. First of all, gee, I'm having trouble with my husband, so I can't meditate, because if I was a good yogi, I wouldn't be having trouble with my husband. Okay, so that puts her out. That's one series of thoughts, right? Now that's almost inevitably going to give birth to the next series of thoughts. Oh boy, if David finds out about this, he's going to give me a dirty look, and oh, I can't let that happen. And that very thought is so disturbing to me that I can't meditate today. And on and on and on. This is the cycle of samsara. It causes so much samsari, maybe we should call it, because it causes us to feel like I'm a sorry mess. And the answer is we need to get off the wheel. As Shelley would say, to get off the wheel and get on the stick, the chakra stick. And the way that we do this, like I say, is just by saying, the heck with it. I'm going to think a new thought. One time a disciple asked Kriyananda, what's the ultimate value of Kriya Yoga? And, I sat back and got comfortable for a wonderful lecture about God and illumination and everything. And I was in for a surprise. He says, the ultimate value of Kriya Yoga is it allows you to think a new thought. I says, what about God consciousness? He says, well, that's true. And that's, classically that's the answer. But words are a weak symbolism to try to communicate, and they're fraught with different connotations and so forth. And what one person means by God consciousness, another person might hear the phrase and mean an entirely different thing. But whatever the problem, whatever the dis-ease on whatever level, the ability to think a new thought, the ability to be truly creative, the ability to approach our life as an artist, as a master artist approaches his canvas. The ability to think a new thought is the ability to solve and resolve whatever problems have arisen. So the answer is, I'll tell you what, Doris, starting today, each of us will breathe one Kriya a day for the rest of our lives. Can you agree to that? Oh, that's easy. Okay, me too. Now I got to meditate every day because I said I would. But the answer, somebody could hear that and say, that's nothing. You're going to meditate for a moment, for a symbolic moment. But the answer is that's everything. With each cycle of death and rebirth called the little death at night, and then waking up in the morning, with each cycle of our existence, with each paragraph in the book that is our life, if we remember, yes, the meaning, the purpose, the direction of life is to intern, to center, and to lift. If we remember this each day, we have a subtle reminder. This is what life's about. What we do every day, what we do regularly, the feeling state of happiness that we attune to regularly, the feeling state of the healing presence that we attune to daily, this we will carry across when it is time to set down the food sheet. This we'll carry with us in what we call the bardo states, the so-called heavens and hells and intermediate experiences in the astral worlds. This we will bring with us when we come back into this lifetime, into this happy earth plane, saner, less fearful, less anxiety-ridden, happier, more balanced, as Bill said, more content. The way we do it, by attuning to the Lord that truly dwells in the heart of every being, not just human beings, by the way. The more you meditate, the more you can see it, not accept it as a doctrine that somebody told you out of a book, but say, oh, geez, I can feel. Life is alive. It's not just me stuck on some sterile dead planet in some mechanistic universe. Life is alive. There is a subtle feeling of bliss. The way to find it is to in turn, through the process of meditation, whatever the imbalances are that have existed or do exist within us, they are surely, swiftly, and harmoniously brought into a deeper level of balance. Namaste.